with the way things are going in Nigeria now, and the level at which these Fulanis are conquering Nigerian territories, honestly, you have to do yourself good to listen to this video I want to play for you now. Maybe after listening to it, you understand a bit of what is about to come. However, we pray for peace. We pray for peace. Please, listen to our dear brother.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all doing great today. Okay, so I sincerely hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have to say to Nigerians as it is. If you are in Nigeria and you know you're going to be in Nigeria during the 2027 elections, please make contingency plans. From everything that I have seen, and if you know me, you know I have a very strong background in research and I don't say things carelessly, right? From everything that I have seen, we are on our way to a very messy, nasty, ugly civil war in Nigeria in 2027. And I'm going to explain to you how it's going to come out, how it's going to roll out, all right? So, in the last video that I made, right, I made it clear that there is this thing that they're planning to do, especially with the Aburi Accord that came up, right? And so the plan was that while they're talking about Aburi, and BBC is also planning to release their documentary about surviving Biafra, which is a very weird, nasty title. I don't even know why. Maybe they're saying how Biafrans survived Biafra or something else. If it is something else, well, let them release it. We're waiting for them. But you can imagine all of this happening at the same time. Yakubu Gowon released the book, and then BBC is about to release a documentary, and then we have all the talk about Aburi all over the media, and that showed me and proved to me that they are basically heading towards a restructured Nigeria. Because I've always said to people that Tinubu is a kind of president that does not want anybody to take power from him so that he becomes lower. Once he has hit that level in his life, he doesn't want to be anything lower again. Is it that he is a live president, or he divides Nigeria in such a way that every single region has its own thing? Whatever you have in your region, you have it. That probably even explains why the borrowing, the out of mind borrowing, like I've never seen. Did you see the report that everything he has borrowed in 2 or 3 years is basically what Nigeria was supposed to have borrowed, something that Nigeria hasn't borrowed in 55 years. This is the worst we have ever seen in the history of Nigeria. The man is just on a borrowing rampage. And nobody's seeing what he's doing with all this money. So basically, he's just investing all these things in his region so that after the restructuring process, whatever he has put inside the Yoruba land stays in Yoruba land. And then whatever the Easterners have got, they just manage it like that. And whatever the North has got, they manage it like that. And then the power of the presidency is weakened completely. This is what they are planning to do. But right now, as I make this video, there is a very strong opposition to that. The overlords, the puppet masters, the cabals, the voodoo masters, and the native doctors around, and all the praise singers, okay, around this man are telling him to go on, Baba, that there is no problem. Is it not you? Ah, yes, there will be a few protests here and there, and then some people will die, and you will still be there in power. That's what is going on. And the Nigeria that I see today is not the Nigeria of 2023. Anybody who is not seeing that, the person is absolutely blind. Even cowards today are roaring like lions. And they're not doing it to make sound effects. Something has broken on the inside of every single Nigerian, and now it is a battle to the finish. Nigerians, as far as they're concerned, are now saying, you know what? It is now or never. If we die, we die. Because after all, we've got nothing to lose. This man is taking every single thing from us already. That's where Nigerians are right now. And so what you're going to see, which is why I know the civil war is coming, you need to make contingency plans. What I'm seeing is a situation where on election day, they are going to try to steal the elections like they did in 2023. They're going to try to release thugs, but they will find out that the thugs waiting for them at the polling booths are worse than the thugs they are sending. I think they already have the intelligence that this is going to happen. They know that Nigerians are ready, armed to the teeth. The kind of videos we have even seen in the last few days shows you where Nigerians are right now, that nobody is ever going to wait and allow Tinubu and his boys to rig elections or to steal elections at the polling units anymore. It's not going to happen. Just take it from me. This is not a threat. It's a reality. It's not going to happen. So what are they going to do when that does not happen? They are going to replicate or try to replicate what they did during the useless primaries that just took place. They are going to just manufacture numbers, send it to INEC, and tell INEC to begin to apportion to different candidates. And remember, there are other candidates, Atiku, in ADC, okay? They are going to regard him as the main opposition candidate. NDC doesn't ever measure or even show up on their scale, because NDC is their arch enemy. Atiku is their brother. Is their boy. He's working for them. So they're going to say apportion 80 million to Bola Tinubu. Apportion like half of that, 40, to Atiku. Go to PRP, give them like 30 million. Look for another party, give them 20. Look for another one, give them like maybe 10 or 5. And then NDC, where P2B is, give those ones like 2 million or 2.5 million. But if they want to pity them, they can just give them like 3 million. That's what is going to happen. And guess what's going to happen when that happens? There's going to be this spontaneous outbreak of violence. The kind of violence that will make Biafra war in Sudan look like a walk in the park. Like I'm walking in the park right now. The kind that will make Biafra war look like a child's play. It's going to be multi-dimensional. It's going to go in different directions. You won't even know how to track it. You won't know which direction this war is going. You know, there are some wars that when they break out, you can tell, okay, this is what I would do if I do this, if I get that person, and then we can stave it, and then this is going to end. But you're not going to know how to chase or track this because it's going to be multi-dimensional. Do you understand? It's going to be multi-dimensional on every angle. Now, what will happen is that when that war breaks, that's when you will realize that these people have really sold their souls to the devil. Many of them already have plans outside of Nigeria. They have homes outside of Nigeria. Their families have even moved. If they haven't moved 3 months to elections, they have all gone. That's when you will know they've already planned their escape. We are dealing with criminals. Criminals who have no love, no hope of ever doing anything good for Nigeria other than using Nigeria as a token to enrich themselves. Nigeria is a collateral for stealing from the whole world and leaving the unborn generation in debt. They have no heart, no soul, no conscience. Every ounce of conscience in them has been extracted when they sold their souls to the devil. That's why Tinubu is claiming to be a Yoruba man. He's from Yoruba land. Oyo State, 46 children with their teachers still in captivity. The teacher was beheaded, videoed, and shown to the whole world. The woman had a baby on her back and was pleading for help. No presidential broadcasts. No official presidential statement from either the president or any one of his aides. And they are all Yorubas. Can't you see? It's not even about the tribe now. It's about the master they serve. The devil that they serve does not know tribe or religion or tongue. That's why they want to start the war, to reduce population. They know that what they're about to do will start war, and they will start it. That's why I'm telling Nigerians, make contingency plans. By every indication, what I see is a very nasty, messy civil war. But whichever way it goes, God will give us victory, and at the end of the day, we will come out on top, and they will be the biggest losers. Prepare. The hour has come.
The Fulani militant uprising in Nigeria might trigger a counterattack from other ethnic groups. That is my worry. And we must check it. Because if we don't, we might pay dearly for it. So let me remind you of the consequences of counter-violence, because Nigeria is edging closer to counter-violence. If counter-violence is not the cure, then Nigeria faces a question more agonizing than any other. How does our people stop the violence that begets counter-violence without becoming the very engine of its own destruction? Look now at Nigeria. Criminal elements, armed, mobile, shadowy, move through the forest and farmlands. They call themselves many things, but Nigeria knows them by the name of an ethnic group, the Fulani. They kill, they kidnap, they burn villages. And in response, ethnic militias are rising. In Yoruba land at the moment, Sunday Igboho is raising Yoruba militias. You can see videos of them moving into the forest. That is how it starts. Why are they angry? Terrorists stormed schools in Orire, in Oyo State, kidnapped teachers, kids, babies. The Berom fortified their hills. The Yoruba vigilantes gather, and each side says the same terrible justification. We are only defending ourselves. They struck first. Let me remind you of July 1966 all over again. Only now, the uniform is not army uniform, but civilian marauders. And the admonition remains unchanged. The nation that cannot distinguish between the criminal and the king is already lost. When a Fulani bandit kills a thief farmer, the thief farmer's son does not see a criminal. He sees a Fulani. When the thief militia retaliates, burning a Fulani settlement, where no bandits live, the Fulani header's daughter does not see vigilantes. She sees thief, and in that moment, the actual crime, the original act of banditry, becomes irrelevant. What matters now is identity. What matters now is blood. What matters now is revenge that no one can stop. So, how does a nation break this circle without disarming the innocent? How does it stop the violence that leads to counter-violence? First, the state must reclaim its monopoly on legitimate force. This is not merely a political slogan. It is the very definition of a state. When citizens take up arms because they no longer trust the government to protect them, the state has already failed. But the answer is not to crush the militias with greater violence. That is merely counter-violence by another name. The answer is to outgovern the bandits. It is to deploy competent, ethnically neutral security forces whose loyalty is to the law, not to a region. It is to track criminals by their deeds, not their dialect. It is to invest in intelligence, in rapid response, in rural courts, in roadways that connect isolated communities to the center. The state must become so present, so effective, so just, that the vigilante becomes unnecessary, not because he is suppressed, but because he is obsolete. Second, the Nigerian state must criminalize the act, not the identity. This sounds simple, but it is revolutionary in its implications. When a Fulani headsman commits murder, he must be hunted, arrested, and tried, not because he is Fulani, but because he is a murderer. When a thief militiaman bombs a Fulani home, he must face the same justice. But this requires a judiciary and a police force that have been cleansed of ethnic bias, and that, in turn, requires political courage of a kind that is rare in any nation. It means telling your own ethnic constituency, if our people commit crimes, they will be punished. And it means telling your enemy's constituency, if your people are innocent, they will be protected. This is the only language that breaks the circle. Everything else is just war by other means. Third, and most difficult, the Nigerian state must address the ecological and economic roots of the violence. The Fulani bandits are monsters, no doubt, but they are also men whose traditional grazing routes have been blocked by farms, whose cattle have been stolen by climate change, whose youth have been radicalized by poverty and neglect. This does not excuse their crimes. Nothing excuses kidnapping and murder. But to fight only the symptom while ignoring the disease is to guarantee that new bandits will rise as fast as old ones fall. The Nigerian state must invest in ranching, provide alternative livelihoods, and build trust across the herder-farmer divide. This is slow work. It is unglamorous work. It does not make for dramatic headlines. But it is the only work that ends the circle permanently. Because if we go fire for fire, Nigeria will plunge into a deadly civil war. It is coming if we don't manage it. Fourth, Nigeria must refuse the seduction of collective guilt. This is the hardest lesson of July 1966. Remember, after the first coup, Northerners blamed all Igbo. After the counter-coup, Igbo blamed all Northerners, and 1 million died in a war that ensued. So today, when a Fulani bandit kills, the temptation is to say the Fulani are killers. When a thief militia retaliates, the temptation is to say that the thieves are savages. But these are not truths. They are suicide notes written in the grammar of ethnicity. A nation that succumbs to collective guilt has already chosen civil war, and it is merely waiting for the march. The only alternative is to insist relentlessly, publicly, even against the tide of grief and rage, that a criminal is a criminal, and a civilian is a civilian, and no one is guilty for the sins of their ethnic sibling. Fellow countrymen and women, the Nigerian state must learn to distinguish between defense and vengeance. Defense is the militia that stands at the edge of a village and repels an imminent attack. Vengeance is the militia that crosses into the next valley and burns a sleeping hamlet. One is the right of every human being. The other is the path to July 1966 and to every massacre that followed. The state must defend the first while prosecuting the second. And communities must learn to demand protection without demanding blood. Note, you cannot stop the circle of violence by choosing a side within it. You can only stop it by stepping outside of it, by refusing to let the criminal define your enemy, by insisting that justice is blind to ethnicity, and by building a state so strong in its fairness that no citizen feels the need to become a vigilante. This is harder than revenge. It is slower than rage. It requires patience, trust, and a kind of moral courage that is rare in any generation. But the alternative is not victory. The alternative is an endless July, month after month, year after year, each counter-violence birthing the next, until Nigeria becomes not a nation, but a graveyard of good intentions. And the only epitaph reads, "They struck first, so we struck back, and then we all died." Break the chain, not with a bigger gun, but with a better nation. A word is enough for the wise. Thank you for listening to me.